Welcome to the very first live podcast of all things nonlinear dynamical, talks about the brain and human connection. This show tackles the big questions: overcoming challenges, mental well-being, the power of music and literature, and even cutting-edge brain training tech. Join Craig De Servidor and his special and amazing guests as they explore the physical and mental landscapes that make us who we are, offering practical tools and broad perspectives to help you navigate your own unique journey. It's going to get weird, it's going to get wonderful, so buckle up and get ready to explore the incredible world within. Tonight's extra special guest is Valdine W. Brown, Doctor of Philosophy. Val is the co-founder of the Zengar Institute Incorporated and the co-developer of NeuroOptimal. This is a real treat because Val will explain what nonlinear dynamical is all about and help us understand it and offer so much more tonight. And now, off to our brilliant show host, Craig De Servidor, to get this candle properly lit. Off to you, Craig.
Thank you, Freddie. Hey, welcome to Val. How are you?
I'm good. I'm here in Washington, D.C., actually Silver Spring, Maryland, to be precise, just outside of D.C. where I grew up. I'm in my sister's house, and I'm here visiting her, and I'll be here actually till our shared birthdays on June 12th.
Oh, how wonderful. Happy birthday. Did you know that one of the questions I had for you has been answered by this day? And, several people have said to me, all things nonlinear dynamical. Well, that's off-putting. Well, I don't eat pudding anymore, so I was like baffled by
that. Right.
But it was confusing and too scientific and so on and so forth. But and I do want you to answer this, but I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so I put together my article on X to be, that will be completed once this our interview is over, and I get the the transcript and whatnot, summarize it and everything. But I put it up there. And the intention is that it's a breadcrumb tool to go back through, the things that you're talking about and, review of it and maybe, offer a little more information. But, look, sorry, Elon Musk and your ex-support team, but your articles are buggy because, I would publish the article, think I had it all cherried out, my media in the right place, my links, so on and so forth. And it would go back to various versions, and I'd see text in a place that I had not placed it, and I'd see media missing. So, I just go, I did 12 renditions of that. Yeah, so, all in the idea of making this as palatable and as helpful as possible. So there was fear, fantasized experience of an awful reality that you taught me years ago. And, and then we were talking before this, and it didn't work on Safari, and, there's a dinner, and traffic and whatnot. That's nonlinear dynamical.
Yes.
I mean, the whole thing to me is like, wow, it's a lesson for me, because I wanted you to explain it, and I know you will, then explain it better than me. But this whole thing has been an amazing journey in one day just to get to this place.
Yeah, it's interesting because an aspect of it that's very interesting is we have to come up with a new term that is the contrary term to what everybody has learned. So it's called non-linear. Well, because of course the world is linear. Well, no, it's not, but that's what you're taught growing up. Parallel lines never meet. Yeah, you draw them on a piece of paper or a tabletop. That's true, right? Try drawing it on a balloon. No, right? It depends. And they probably, it's almost certain that they're going to cross at some point. So, what happens when a spaceship goes through, you fly to the moon. And I love how the movies show this kind of stuff. It's like, they take off from Cape Canaveral or wherever, and then they're going to the space shuttle for their first for the space station, sorry, for their first stop, and they're still on full thrust.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, that's not how you do it, guys. You know, and it's fascinating because you think about a spaceship going, or a satellite, let's say, going from here to Saturn. And most people imagine it as if it's just a straight shot like you get on Interstate 80. And, sooner or later you get to Iowa City. Doesn't matter if you go on the east or west. But the truth is that's just not how it works at all, because the planets are gravity wells. And so you wrap around this planet, then you wrap around that one, and you get a slingshot effect from it. And you finally get to where you want to get to. And that's part of the reason it takes so long, because you're doubling the transit or whatever, depends on the transit time. So we have a special construct called a geodesic for that kind of linear movement in a four-dimensional space-time continuum. Well, actually, that's the basis. The straight line is the idealization that only exists on a flat piece of paper, But
Exactly.
that's the model. Why? Well, because it was really useful. It worked. And for most of the planet, most people, most of the daily life kind of stuff, it works. You're adding up your grocery bill. Yeah, it's going to be a linear process. You don't add one little thing and suddenly the total is 10 times the cost, right? It's directly proportional. So to me, it when I hear a term like nonlinear, it's showing that juxtaposition of sort of this privileged, stratified, linear, hierarchical construct of the world, and it's just not that way. The reality is almost everything that is physically real is nonlinear in its structure. In other words, it's not linear. To linearize it, we have to constrain it. We have to cut it off. We have to, so the piece of paper, it has edges, right? It's a piece of paper. And you say, well, I can imagine it going on forever. As a sheet of paper? Really? Wow. Show me where that exists. An infinite sheet of paper. That's a fascinating construct, but you assume that's the basis. No wonder things are tough for you when you get in the real world. The real world is nonlinear, right? It's not linear. You make a little difference at the beginning, and you can be in totally different places. I used to give the example about going to an airport. And when you go to the airport because you're going to fly someplace, you get to the gate where the plane's going to be. Well, you could be flying to Cleveland. The next gate is going to Beijing. 50-foot of difference. Yeah, but 10,000 miles of separation at the end, right? So where you start does not necessarily predict where you're going to go, is another way of saying sensitive dependence on initial conditions. You get on the wrong plane, you're on the wrong side of the planet. But it's only a 50-foot difference at the start.